a good friend who's been friends a long time, Greg Funderburg. And Greg, news anchor and journalist in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Greg, good morning to you.
Good morning. So happy to be here with you.
Man, it's an honor to have you this morning. And we're going to talk about your book in just a bit. But tell us a little bit about Greg Funderburg. What's been going on with you?
You know, Greg Funderburg is from Sylacauga, Alabama, born and raised. And I went to Childersburg High School, graduated in 2002. 20 years this year. I can't believe it's my 20th reunion coming up this summer. But one thing that I really enjoyed about my time here in Sylacauga, I realized in high school, I wanted to be a journalist. And I remember reaching out to Jimmy Dale Abrams here, and you gave me my first opportunity to be on television and live my dream. And I'm so appreciative.
We read news back in that day, didn't we?
We did. Read Alabama news, the interviews, and all that kind of good stuff. But that fundamental foundation that I was able to get in this city from you, my friend, really helped set the foundation and something to build on as I've gone to so many other markets.
Now, you've been in several different markets, in the Chattanooga market now. What are you doing there?
I'm the morning anchor, so I still have those morning hours, getting up at 3 in the morning. But I've been there for 8.5 years, and if you would
That's unusual.
Unusual. If you would have told me 8.5 years ago I was going to be there this long, I would have said, oh, absolutely no. But, you know, God has had a different plan, and so I've just, you know, humbled myself to his plan and said, you know, God, you have the way. And so it's been a blessing to be there, and I've learned so much over the years, met some incredible people, but you know, it's always a privilege when you can come back home.
Yeah, speaking of home, talk about your family just a little bit.
Family's doing well. My mom just actually retired from Citizens Hospital in Talladega back in December. She worked for 32 years as a registered nurse. My dad, he does not, he's gonna keep working. He's working, has his business, Funderburg Body Shop. I don't think he knows how to stop working. So I think I get my work ethic from my dad because I still work all the time and I'm always going and doing so many different things. My younger brother is doing well. He's working with AT&T. My sister-in-law, Sharitha, is doing well. She just started a new job here in Sylacauga, and you know, my older brother passed away back in December unexpectedly. But you know, when I think about, you know, what COVID-19 has truly taught so many people around the world is to really embrace those relationships with family, because tomorrow isn't promised to us.
Speaking of tomorrow, you're scheduled to be over at Cup of Grace, and we're going to be signing and introducing his new book, Jeremiah's New Beginning. Tell us about the new book.
You know, Jeremiah's New Beginning is a really cool book. Jeremiah and Madison are twins, and so they are just simply amazing kids. And the really cool thing about them is they're going to this new school and they are rapping, they're dancing, they're doing all types of stuff in school. And Jeremiah is thinking, what in the world is going on at this school? But it wasn't until lunch and later on that afternoon, a pep rally. So this is a children's book for 3rd, 4th grade level. But, you know, in the pre-stage of like getting ready for this for over the past year and a half, you know, kids as young as pre-K all the way to 5th grade got the fundamental message of the book, which is health and wellness. And so
you connect with this book, don't you?
I connect with this book. So many parallels in the book of Jeremiah's life relates back to my life. The mom in the book is a nurse. My mom is a nurse. And so my first job was in Columbus, Georgia. I lived in Phoenix City. They are moving, they just moved to Phoenix City, Alabama. So I added some parallels in the book. And also there's a band that stops by the school, Alabama State University. My niece graduated from Alabama State back in December. My sister-in-law graduated from Alabama State. And a beloved teacher, Corrine Woods, was a proud alumni of Alabama State when I was a student at Childersburg High School and Childersburg Middle School. She passed away in 2012 from cancer. But when I think about so many people who have helped mold and shape me to be the person I am today, a lot of that is displayed in the book in subliminal messages.
Now, you were in the band at Childersburg, right?
I was drum major for 2 years. It's hard to believe that, you know, that was so long ago. I look back at videos, it seems like it was just yesterday. But, you know, I have some great memories. You know, Carol Cumbie, the band director that was in Childersburg, he actually lives in Ringgold, Georgia right now, which is right outside of Chattanooga.
Far from you.
And so we had lunch when I first got to Chattanooga. So it's come full circle that people in Chattanooga and so many connections to my hometown, you know, it's been a true blessing.
When did you decide to start writing?
Honestly, years ago, I really wanted to write a book. So 20 years ago, when I was a freshman in college, I would read to kids in local schools and daycares in Childersburg and Sylacauga through a club at Central Alabama Community College. And so, Years later, I said, I would love to write a children's book, but the problem is I didn't have time. Getting up at 3 in the morning, being at work, hosting and speaking, and then March 2020, God just shut down the world. And I thought, COVID was going to be, 1 week, 2 weeks? Here we are, 2 years in.
Yeah.
And God gave me the time, and so many other people around the world, time to do something. And so that was my something.
So Jeremiah's New Beginning, where can people get this book?
You can get it in any place where a major bookstore is. So you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, booksamillion.com. You can also get it on Apple Books, and also there's one other store, walmart.com. Can't forget about that. But you can go to my website, gregfunderburg.com, click on the Jeremiah's New Beginning tab. There's a link over to all of those places where you can get the book. And I'm having a book signing tomorrow, as you just said, Cup of Grace, Sylacauga location, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Jeremiah and Madison will be at the book signing. A cutout of them will be there. So I'm so excited about that.
I bet so. Jeremiah's New Beginning. How long does it take to put something like this together?
It took to write the book was about 2 or 3 months, because you want to finesse it and change and all that kind of good stuff. But the key to a children's book is finding the right illustrator. So I searched high and low for an illustrator, and a good friend of mine, he's a news anchor in Columbia, South Carolina. So he told me about this guy. His name is Donald Wilson II. He's an elementary teacher, 5th grade teacher. And so he is based out of a small school district right outside of Columbia, South Carolina. And so he illustrated the book. And when I tell you, Jimmy Dale, I never told him specific things to draw. I just said, use your creativity. But the really cool thing about this book, God showed me the cover of the book with the yellow writing months before he had even submitted the cover to me. And so back in December, I was home. My brother his health was declining. And I remember Donald sent me the cover draft. And I looked at it and I said, wow, this is exactly what God showed me the yellow writing on the top of the book, but I could never see the image on the book. Wow. But when I saw that cover from Donald, I said, this was God ordained for me to be in this season, because this was the season, the right anointed time for this all to happen. And when you think about Jeremiah's New Beginning, I also think about Jeremiah 29:11.
Your faith's important to you, isn't it?
Very important. My family, raised me in the church. I went to Sunday school. I was in church. I was active in so many different organizations within church. My dad goes to Pine Grove Baptist Church. My mom is also in church and in the area as well. And so when I think about, the faith, I never could miss church. And also being here with you.
You didn't have a choice at that time.
I didn't have a choice. And the really cool thing about when I was working with you many years ago as an intern, I got a chance to do a daily devotional on television. And so even though, the world has changed a little bit where we can really express our faith, and so even in my job at Channel 9 in Chattanooga, I still express my faith publicly and openly, and I never shy away from it, because, God is the person. God helped me to get to where I am today, along with family and friends and so many people who helped mold and shape me into the man I am today.
Greg Funderburg, our guest this morning, Jeremiah's New Beginnings, his new book, and you can get it various platforms, and he'll be over at Cup of Grace tomorrow. Here in Sylacauga, starting about 11 o'clock, right?
11 o'clock.
Yeah, and we're glad to have Greg with us this morning. This book, you got a special place in your heart for younger kids.
I do. When I think about kids, I remember reading in school, and so it's so important that kids read. And so a lot of times, a lot of kids don't have access to books. And so the goal in this project is to really make reading fun. And so just earlier this week, I was stopping by a school in Chattanooga, and the kids had on green shirts. And I walked into the school because I'm so busy, I'm doing all the things I'm doing. And I said, oh my God, I love your green shirts and the blue jeans. And so the teacher said, today is, Read Across America Week or whatever. And she said, today is dress like your favorite character. So all of the kids in the classroom were just dressed like Jeremiah and Madison. So the boys had on green shirts and blue jeans, so did the girls, but the girls also had a yellow ribbon in their hair. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Health and wellness, especially for younger kids, so important that we teach them and show them by example of how health and wellness is so important.
It is. When you think about, health and wellness, I remember my mom and dad taking me to the pediatrician when I was a kid. And, we didn't like, when I think about what I eat today, I didn't like broccoli back then and asparagus. and I tell people jokingly, being in Sylacauga, Alabama, being in Alabama, period, you know, everything is smothered in something, it's fried. And so as I've gotten older and gotten into my adult life, I found a love for Brussels sprouts and asparagus and broccoli without the cheese. And so all those different things really help make a true difference in making sure that we're making healthier choices. So the goal is to encourage kids and their families to start making some small changes in their life. Also, when it comes to physical fitness, making those small changes, which will make a bigger difference down the road.
Is writing more in the future for you?
Of course. You know, this is the beginning of a children's book series. So the next book is going to come out later this year. And so Jeremiah and Madison are going to go on so many amazing adventures. And I just pray and hope that kids, not just in Alabama and in Chattanooga, but I pray that kids around the world get an opportunity to see the different adventures they take. And you know, Jimmy, when I wrote this book in 2020, my goal was only just to publish on Amazon and be done. But the way God has worked it out is on so many major platforms. This book is also distributed in Canada, in Australia, and France, and Italy, and so many different countries around the world. So it goes to show that, you know, a lot of times we can have one vision of something, but God's vision is going to be so much bigger and so much greater.
Wow. Greg Funderburg, our guest this morning. He is a journalist in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and book writer. Jeremiah's New Beginning. How many prints? How many do you have in print?
Right now, if you can order it on any of the platforms, and they'll send it to you. But in pre-orders, we sold over 1,500 copies.
Wow!
I know. I was not expecting that. It happened, and pre-order season was only 3 weeks.
Goodness.
So when I tell you God is truly in this, He is truly in this.
You've been able, with your journalism career, to be in front of a lot of influential people. Talk about some of those.
You know, being in this industry, you would never imagine the people you will encounter. And so when I think about, I have a love for presidential history and politics. And so when I was a young journalist in Columbus, Georgia, I remember going to cover Jimmy Carter. He was endorsing John Edwards at the time to be president. This is during the 2008 election period. And so we were backstage, and in walks the former First Lady. And my photographer said, you cannot go over because Secret Service is there. So because of Greg Funderburg and who I am, I said, I am going to go over and at least introduce myself. So I went over, introduced myself. She was so kind. I told her I wanted to interview a president. And she says, you never know when it's going to happen. You just got to be prepared. And so I remember my photographer said, don't do it, Gregory, because Secret Service are around. You cannot just go interview the former president. And so a few minutes later, Secret Service comes in, more Secret Service walks in, and in walks the former president of the United States. And Mrs. Carter, in her sweet person that she is, she stood up and she says, Jimmy, talk to Greg. And Jimmy Carter walked over and talked to little old Greg Funderburg from Sylacauga, Alabama. So I've met Jimmy Carter, I've met former President George W. Bush, former President Bill Clinton, former President Barack Obama, and a plethora of other people. And so I've always told kids, especially in this area, it does not matter who your parents are, your grandparents, your uncles or aunties or whoever, it is all within you. Everybody talks about power and prestige and money. You have the power to determine how you want to live your life. And so years ago when I was in high school, I said I wanted to be a news anchor reporter. My parents always told me I could be anything I wanted to be. And grandparents and other people pushing me along the way, including you, my friend. So when I think about my career and I think about, you know, every morning, weekday morning, I am in Chattanooga, Tennessee, walking in the studio, and that animation says, you're watching Good Morning Chattanooga with Greg Funderburg. I come to that studio every weekday morning carrying my parents, grandparents, you, my friend, and so many other people in this community, and educators who really sewed into me so much and helped me to get to that point in my life. And so it is my mission that I can use that platform for greater good and pour back into young people. And that's what I've done my entire life, especially in my adult life. But now I can use a children's book and inspire so many kids around the world.
All right, Jeremiah's New Beginnings with Greg Funderburg. He'll be in town tomorrow signing the book over at Cup of Grace. And tell them whether they can get your new book again.
Again, you can go to gregfunderburg.com, click on the Jeremiah's New Beginning page. You can link over to all of the many platforms. Books will be on sale tomorrow at the event. $13.99 plus tax. So I'm looking forward to seeing so many people in Sylacauga, my friends and family, and even people I don't know, people who watched me years ago when I was with you.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to take some selfies and take some pictures and all that good stuff and connect with the community.
All right, Greg Funderburg, our guest this morning here on Daybreak Live. We've got more coming up right after you watch this.